You're standing in your kitchen, or maybe sitting in your car, and suddenly you are being accused of something you absolutely did not do. Your heart rate spikes, a heavy, nauseating confusion washes over you, and your brain scrambles to make sense of a reality that has suddenly been flipped upside down. This dizzying experience is a well-documented psychological mechanism called narcissistic projection. Someone with high toxic traits is actively taking their own deeply hidden flaws and blaming them on you. Over the next 6 minutes, we are going to walk through a 5-second disarm protocol. This is a step-by-step checklist to help you reclaim your grip on reality, shut down the argument immediately, and walk away safely. Having a concrete plan ready to go shifts the power dynamic of the entire relationship. You no longer have to absorb the emotional chaos they manufacture. Instead, you maintain total control over your own peace. Step 1 is recognizing what projection actually is. At its core, the toxic person is experiencing an internal surge of shame about their own behavior. Because they cannot process that shame, they try to hand it to you. Think of it like a funhouse mirror. The toxic traits they carry are bouncing right off their own distorted self-image and landing directly in your lap. They accuse you of being deceptive, selfish, or unfaithful because they are actively engaging in those behaviors. To disarm this, you have to decode the mirror in real time. When they say, "You are so selfish," you must mentally translate that phrase to mean, "I am acting selfishly," and projecting it onto you. We can see this exact strategy outlined in clinical recovery literature. This text explains that writing down translations of their behavior reveals the truth. The abuser's accusations are actually a direct confession of their own motives. Realizing that an accusation is simply a baseline confession of their hidden insecurities instantly neutralizes the power of the attack. You are no longer defending your character, you are simply observing theirs. This brings us to step 2, dropping your defense. When someone attacks your character, your natural instinct is to explain yourself and present the facts. But in these specific relationships, defending yourself is a guilt trap. People who fiercely defend themselves often appear guilty by default to the outside observer. Dr. Ramani Durvasula created a specific framework to avoid this toxic dance, the DEEP technique. The acronym stands for Do Not Defend, Engage, Explain, or Personalize. She points out that defending ourselves is the most common mistake. You have to stop explaining yourself. The person attacking you isn't actually listening to your logical explanation. They are using your desperate attempts to defend yourself as psychological supply. Your panic proves to them that they are successfully controlling your emotional state. Dropping the defense starves them of the conflict they crave. It prevents you from wasting your energy trying to win a game where the rules are constantly changing. Knowing you shouldn't defend yourself is easy in theory, but much harder in practice because of the adrenaline hijack. When you are provoked, your body floods with stress hormones that chemically force you into a fight or flight response, making it incredibly difficult to remember your boundaries. To bypass this physical reaction, you need a physiological intervention. Step 3 is the 5-second pause. When the accusation hits, do not speak. Let 5 full seconds pass. During these 5 seconds, your internal monologue has a specific job. Inhale deeply from your diaphragm. Silently repeat the words detach, detach, detach. Then internally label what is happening. Tell yourself, they are trying to bait me right now. This critical micropause completely halts your nervous system's immediate threat reflex. It creates enough space in your brain to transform you from an active, cornered participant into a calm, detached observer watching a movie play out. Now that your body is regulated, you execute step 4, deploying a power phrase. A power phrase is a boundary statement that acknowledges the other person has spoken without agreeing to a single word they said. It leaves absolutely zero foothold for further debate. You only need to memorize a few of these. I see it differently. I'm not going to argue with you about my reality. Or simply, okay. The physical delivery here is crucial. You deliver the phrase with zero inflection in your voice. Do not sound angry and do not sound apologetic. Keep your face neutral, turn away, and physically leave the room. Refusing to debate your reality forces the conversation into a dead end. Because you gave them nothing to push against, they are left standing alone in a room with adrenaline-manufactured chaos. Even if you execute those first 4 steps perfectly, you will likely experience an emotional hangover. Step 5 addresses the fact that adrenaline and cortisol are still actively pumping through your bloodstream long after you've walked away. To clear this chemical buildup, you must reset your nervous system. This clinical workbook outlines exercises to activate the vagus nerve. Try physical grounding techniques like box breathing or splashing ice-cold water on your face, physically forcing your heart rate to drop. Once your heart rate settles, sit down and immediately write out what just happened in a private journal. Document their exact accusation and document your exact response. Writing this down creates a factual anchor that protects you against their inevitable attempts to gaslight you about the event later. Physically flushing the stress hormones out of your system and recording the truth solidifies your internal boundaries. You ensure that their manipulation fails to stick to you, either physically or mentally. By utilizing this checklist, you stop being a reactive target. You become a prepared, unbothered observer, equipped with a definitive system for protecting your reality. You understand the core philosophy of their behavior. They are trying to hand you their own shame. And now you have the exact tools required to simply refuse the delivery. To make this process automatic, you can download the Trauma Unbonded workbook via the link in the description or at traumaunbonded.com. It contains printable visual aids and pocket guides for this exact protocol, so you always have it ready. You gain profound mental freedom the moment you step off their battlefield and finally put down the emotional weight that was never yours to carry in the first place.